Hello, it's Ken Penrose to continue the interview with Ted Swain on Wednesday, 16th of August 2017 in the Southwold Railway porter cabin. Ted was just telling us about how he started at Nine Elms Depot, which was a 26 road, sorry Ted, yeah, 26 road engine shed. So, and Ted was describing where Nine Elms actually is, which we located somewhere near the sort of Battersea area, Wandsworth, Battersea.
You go down Wandsworth Road, and then you had a little, I can't remember the name now, a little short road, and it used to lead into Nine Elms, which is now the fruit and flower market.
Oh, right. Okay. So you, anyway, I was going to ask you what time you had to start as a fireman.
Well,
what you had to do.
What time you were going to start? You could start.
Oh, you were saying that, wouldn't you?
24 hours.
You could start at 3 in the morning.
Oh yeah. 3 o'clock.
And what were you do? What were your duties as fireman?
Well, the first job was you made sure you had all your tools on board. Then you go and get the engine oil and the thicker oil for certain jobs that you had to use it on for the driver.
Yeah.
And then you made sure you got a firing shovel on board, a pricker dart and fire irons and a shovel for firing.
Yeah.
And then you start like pushing the fire out, putting a little bit of coal on, let that burn through. Perhaps by that time you got just enough steam to put the blower on and draw it up a little bit. And then what I always used to do was have a look underneath to make sure the ash pan was clear.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they didn't bother to
take
them out and leave them full up. And then I check the smoke box, make sure that was tight. But before I made sure it was tight, I normally used to open it up to see that that had been cleared out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they left it packed up like that, and you got quite a bit, of ash and that in there, and it didn't make the engine steam.
And you had ash pits, didn't you, in those sheds?
You had ash pits outside, but you still had to get it out by shovel.
Did you? Oh, right. So nothing easier.
And after that, you sweep it up with a little brush off the front point,
Hard work.
Yeah, and black work used to look like the ace of spades. Oh, yeah. You also had a bucket. That's right, you had a bucket on board that you was able to get water out the pet pipe to put in for washing up afterwards. And otherwise you got black and white minstrel. And, of course, when you go out on the road, especially on the smaller ones, what time basically you're going to get back. But I was talking earlier on about Surbiton. We went down to Surbiton and we had 30699. That was a black motor, 700 class, a drumming engine from about 1893, I think they were built. And of course, in the process between there and 1966, they've been to work a few times.
Yeah.
And been overhauled and that, and come out nice and clean, paint. You could rub everything, got plumbing, no dirt. So, that was one of the good things about going to the ships to their main work.
Yeah.
And that was easily then. But when that was done, you got a good engine back and that. Well, this particular time, the engine that we'd supposed to have had fallen down.
Yeah.
So they had stuck this black motor. It had come from Felton with a freight, and it must have been in the right state before it got from Felton to Nine Elms. And when I looked in the smoke or looked in the firebox, you couldn't see the tubes. They were all caked.
What are the tubes, Ted? What do they do?
Fire hole tubes that go through the boiler.
How many of them are there? How many are there? Lots of them, or?
I on
10,
them,
20?
I think there was somewhere about 45, 50 tubes, little small tubes about so big.
And what was their job?
And their job was to put the hot gases through and keep the water
Oh,
nice and
right.
hot,
Oh, I
you
see.
know.
Yeah.
But as I say, I looked in the firebox and I can't see nothing. So I've gone round the other end of the smoke box to open it up to have a look in. And when I looked in again, I can't see nothing. All I can see is blackness.
Yes, yeah.
And again, the smoke box as well. You looked for the blast pipe and you had a big tube coming up from the blast pipe.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, we're going to have a right old game here, like. So we get up to Surbiton, get from Surbiton, I should say, up to Hampton Court and then have a good look round it, like. So I said to the driver, right, I'm going to clear and clean the fire. Leave it alone, he said. We only went round yesterday with 4 on. For knowing what the driver was like.
Was this the man you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, Dick Mantelow. He knew there was a regulator, but what it was for, he didn't know. It was right across wide open.
Yeah.
And the lever was always in full gear. It was like you know, a big one.
Yeah.
Right, so it could be moved, and he cut the percentage of steam going in, but not him. He left it in full lever.
Yeah.
And so I go to leave it alone. He said, there's nothing round there. I went round yesterday. He said, I've done the train yesterday with 4 on. I said, Dick, because you went round yesterday with 4 on, don't mean say we ain't going to have 64 today.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll leave it alone. He said, you'll be all right. I thought, yeah, with you, nobody's all right. Got no chance, you know. And, well, cut long story short, we don't do it. We go out for a cup of tea in the cafe.
Is this at Hampton Court?
At Hampton Court.
Which is a terminus, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a small, at one time, a small depot there.
Oh, was there?
A couple of engines in the shed. That's before they electrified it.
Right.
I don't know quite when they electrified it. I think it was somewhere about 1928, 29, something like that. And as I say, but the old depot, like basically, was still there. You still had a pit.
Yeah, yeah.
What else have you? So I said, I'd get underneath, I said, and clear the ash pan out. No, leave it alone, leave it alone. I was like, all right. We go into the cafe, and when we come back half an hour later, we just got a little glow of a bit of a light in there. It's virtually out.
Yes.
So we've now on the back of the tender to get lumps of coal to put on.
Yeah.
So I managed to build myself a little fire, and when I looked in by that with the new fire coming up, I was able to see why it wasn't burning.
Yeah.
Because most of the brick arch had gone, collapsed.
Right.
So basically we had no blast on the fire. It was going straight up the tubes and blocking them up. So we finally left there, tender first, back to Surbiton. We went back on the handbrake because we had not enough vacuum, not enough steam to get the vacuum up.
Yeah, yeah.
So we said to the guard, you know, if we blow up 2 or 3 times, you stick your brake on the van.
Yeah, yeah.
So, right, we got back to Surbiton, and we've got about an hour and a half there before we drew off to go to Feltham. So I said to my mate, I said, look, I've got to clean the fire.
Yeah.
I said, all right, I wouldn't have been able to get the brick arch out because it had been too heavy.
Yeah, yeah.
But at least I could have possibly cleaned some of the clink around it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ah, well, we just have to do what we can now. And I thought, yeah, I know what you'll do. And he did. Lever right over, lever right forward. So there's going to be constant blast. And I hadn't got the steam for him to do it.
Yeah.
So when we come to leave At Southwold, when we come to leave there, we had, I think, about 11 trucks on. We leave there. Now, the next station down the line is Esher.
Yeah.
They've got 2 tracks in there, for they used to sometimes store the coaches when they had a race day at the local racetrack.
Oh, yeah.
I can't recall whether it was Kempton
or whatever it was, yeah.
And so, as we're approaching the signal box, we suddenly see a red flag come out the signal box.
Yeah.
So I said, red flag there, Dick, from the signal box. Oh, right over. So we weren't going very fast. So we eventually stopped at the signal box. What's the matter? He said, you got 26 there to pick up. He said, so pick them up and take them with you to Walton-on-Thames. That was the next main station down the line. So we picked them up, and with the 11 we're already on, that's 37 or 36, 37. Yeah. And when we got down to Walton-on-Thames, we got another 30 odd there. So I thought, oh, we can have a right old day today.
As a fireman, you're having to do all the work to get the steam up.
Yeah.
You're doing all the hard work, aren't you?
I'm doing all the work.
Or getting the coal in. And,
and I've got to do the.
You've got to make sure the water's. Do you responsible for the water as well?
Hey.
Responsible for the water.
Oh yeah. It was all my job.
And what did you do then? So you just made sure there was enough coal in the fire, and you'd let enough water in.
If he had shut the regulator, even if we'd have ground to a halt, there'd have been water in the boiler for me to get the injector on enough, perhaps to fill it up halfway. We only wanted a half a boiler full, but he didn't think of that. We kept going. We eventually had to shut off. We run out of steam, and the water was literally just bobbling about in the bottom nut.
Really? Yeah. And this is going towards Walton or at Walton?
This is going towards Weybridge.
Weybridge now,
yeah. We've done the shunting at Walton, right? And
take the extra carriages on,
right? So we got 60.
Yeah.
I think it was a total of about 65 on or something like that.
Yeah.
And off we go. There was an intermediate box between Walton-on-Thames and Weybridge. I think it was called Hersham.
Yeah.
As we got up to it, we stopped outside, and the signalman come to the window and we went, hello, we thought we'd give you a wave to tell you we was here. Yeah. So he said, well, you better go over to the signal box and sign his register.
Excuse me, chaps. Next box here. You're going to move away somewhere.
Yeah. So you had to wave,
Yeah, so we had to go over the signal box and sign his register to say we'd stopped in his section short of steam. So while I'm away, it's made a little bit of steam, and I've managed to get the injector going when I got back and got a little bit more water in. And eventually we managed to get the brake, because we've got, with 64, you've got to have brake on the train.
Yeah.
You've got too many to stop.
So it's a Westinghouse brake, didn't it?
Hey?
Westinghouse brake?
No, it was the vacuum brake.
A vacuum brake?
21 inches.
What's the difference between a Westinghouse and
Westinghouse was a separate pump, and we only had a couple of shunters down at Clapham Junction, the E1s, I think they got.
Yeah, I know the ones you mean.
They got one on the Bluebell now.
Yes.
It's got the Westinghouse
brake,
on the side.
Were they better than vacuum or?
No. Vacuum was all the way through.
And it worked. Yeah, you had to connect everything, didn't you? Every carriage, engine with these pipes you connected to create the vacuum.
Yeah. So the consequence was that everything was connected up. So we've stopped outside there. Eventually, as I say, we eventually get going again. So we leave there, now we're going down towards the Weybridge, which on the track is slightly downhill. So we did shut it off and let it run, which I thought, bloody hell, what's happened, you know. Well, cut a long story short, we got down the bottom. As we got to the junction signal, it come off for us to go round the Watling. And we got halfway round and run out of steam again. So we completely shut Weybridge Junction up.
So how did they get water to you? You had to get water?
We had the water in the tender.
Yeah, there was water in the tender.
We never had the steam to put it in there.
Right, because the way he was doing his regulator,
Yeah. So eventually they let us up to the next station up. I can't recall the name of it off the top of my head. But we got up to it. Again, there was 2 roads there, so the signalman stopped us, said, right, I'm going to put you back in there. You'll have to split your train to get it all in.
Yeah.
So we put one half in one road and one half in the other road, still attached to the engine. And we had about an hour and a half, hour and 3/4 in there. By that time I managed to get it a full boiler, and I've got it blowing off. So the signalman come over to us, he said, what's the matter?
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, here, come here, have a look in there. Oh, blimey, he said, you ain't got much chance of it. I said, not with him. So he said, oh yeah. He said, I know what it's like. He said, I used to be a fireman. He said, and that's what I come off for. He said, and went on the signalman.
Yeah.
So off he's gone. So right. Eventually we everything works out. The signal comes off. We pull up. We drop back on the other bit, and off we go. We get up to Chertsey, got a slight bank there. We managed just to get over the top of the bank, and we run out of steam again. So now our next place of refuge is Staines. So again, we eventually get a bit of steam, and they let us go down to Staines and put in the Staines. We had about an hour and a half in there, and eventually we left there and then went to Felton, which is a big old yard, like, you know. Now there's a few trees there showing where it used to be. And we've got eventually get into the yard, but again we only half in and half out, and we run out of steam again. So you've got all the electrics coming out for the rush hour, and they're on each signal. So of course when we went past it, beep 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 beep, you passed on late, you know. So nothing I can do. Pure and simply. So eventually we get up to the foreman's office in the yard. So he said, well, as you're 3.5 hours late, what we'll do is run you up light engine. And I thought, oh, God, blimey, I bet we break down before we get there. We got to Wandsworth Road. And we were from the Wandsworth Road to Clapham Junction is about 1.5 miles, 1.75 miles. And we dropped the plugs. Light engine. We dropped the plug for the light engine because he would not shut it off and let me try and get it back. So then I've got to go from there to Clapham Junction with a wrong line order that he's going to authorise the other engine they're going to get for us to come back wrong line and pick us up and take us to 9 Elms. So I get the form, take it into the signalman. So he said, as far as I'm concerned, he said, you're in my outer home signal.
Right.
So I said to him, blimey, we're a long way from that. He said, go, it's not track circuited. So he said, you're going down, you're inside my outer home signal. He said, otherwise I've got 3 hours of right now reports. And he said, don't get paid for it. So right, gives me back the wrong line order. You don't need it. So he said, go up and see that driver on that engine there and tell them what's going to happen. They're going to go back and pick your engines, take you to Nine Elms, and then he'll come back here and do the rest of what he's got to do. So, right, off we go, see the driver. Yeah, blimey, we're on our break, you know. Can't help it, mate.
Yeah.
I've got Dick Mantelow on board. Oh, God, blimey, mate. He said, I can, you know, say, you know,
sympathise.
Sympathise with you.
Yeah.
So we go back, we pick the engine up, and they take us to Nine Elms. And when we run in, we put it on the pit top, and we go and see the signalman. Now we're about 4.5 hours late getting into the Loco.
Yeah.
So we've done best part of 12.5 hours work.
Really?
And so the foreman said, oh, well, don't worry about screwing that up, mate. He said, I'll sort that out for you. I said, you've got nothing to sort out. You've got an engine that's gone. He said, what do you mean gone? I said, well, the brick arch is laying in the firebox. Yeah. He said, what, the complete brick arch? I said, yeah, that's gone down. Christ, he said. And you've been with Dick Mantelow? I said, yeah, they all knew him. And so I washed myself. Off I went home. Yeah. And I went from the Nine Elms. You had to walk up the road to the top of the... It was only I suppose, distance. Say here to the top of Blythe Road, right? In distance. It might be a shorter than that. And then you get a 77, I think it was a 77 bus up to Vauxhall. Yeah. Because I'm knackered. Yeah. So up to Vauxhall and then get a train from Vauxhall up to Waterloo. Yeah. Walk over to the eastern side and you can get one from Waterloo to Sidcup. Yeah. And then when I got down to Sidcup, I walked down to the 241 stop at Sidcup station and get one to where I lived in Haddon Grove off of Willersley Avenue, Sidcup. So anybody's got perhaps an old map, they might be able to find it. Yeah, yeah. And so that was it. So that was that job finished with. I never heard nothing about that from management asking me what happened. It's just the fact they knew I'm with Dick Mantelow. They knew what I'd literally gone through. And the next time I had a man was on a express excursion, 3 coaches, 73117. It is now, or was named, Vixen. Right. Right. It used to have no name at all when I fired with it for Nine Elms, but it appears it went from Nine Elms to Guildford to Fratton, Fratton back to Guildford, and then I think it was scrapped after that. You know. But that was later on its life.
Fratton's Portsmouth, isn't it?
Eh?
Fratton's Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was what they done to the railway in the steam days, you know, with the way they, you know, built brand new engines, and some of them hadn't even gone in and been serviced. Really? Yeah. And they scrapped it.
How many roads was Fratton?
I don't know. I never actually went into Fratton. I went past it once, but again I was working on the shovel, so I didn't have much chance to have a look. We had a big split, a hook on the main line from Woking to Basingstoke. The up local had gone completely, and then the up main line went completely, then the down main line went partly away, but they was able to stabilise it on the down local. Right. And this particular day we'd gone down with the 8:20, which was a 2-hour touch to Bournemouth. They had stuck us round via Guildford. And we went past Fratton Loco down there and then come round, what's the name of the river down there, but just outside town. You used to come round the corner and then pick up the main line again to Bournemouth. But we only went as far as, Southampton, yeah. And then that was another time, you know. That was quite a few diversions on that particular diversion.
What was your favourite Loco? What was the best Loco you ever drove?
I think Class 5 was 73117.
Yeah.
We had, funny enough, to go back a little bit to about 1960. Yeah, about 1960. I was in the pilot gang then, and
when you say pilot gang, what does that mean?
Number 2 link.
What does that mean, pilot gang?
What it meant was you done the unusual jobs, not regular.
Oh right.
Waterloo to Bournemouth or Waterloo to Salisbury.
Yeah.
You might be going up to Willesden, pick a train up from Willesden, bring it down, perhaps for a troop train, and take it to Southend.
Right. Yeah.
Take it elsewhere. You know, you never knew where you was going. So, as I say, that was why they call it the pilot gang. But as I say, we get that done and back to Nine Elms and sit down on your bum, like, you know. But as I say, it was a very happy little job as a fireman with anybody but Dick Mantelow.
Who was your favourite driver then?
Hey?
Who was your favourite driver?
Well, Dickie Ellis, he was my regular mate, number 2. I got on so well.
Yeah.
You know, we used to
No,
go into the engineman's shed, like, or engineman's room, and the older blokes used to say, "What you been up to today, Dick?" You know. And but, as I say, we had done the job as it should be done, you know.
Well, yeah,
didn't excess the speed. I think the fastest I ever went with him was about 93. It was 85 mile an hour.
Yeah.
So, you know, other people went well over the top. I can recall a certain name, you might have heard it, Bert Hooker.
Oh yes, yeah.
Right, and well, I won't tell you what happens. It won't. Yeah, it might upset people that know it's Bert Hooker, but basically, I met Bert again after Steam finished.
Yeah.
I happened to go to Marylebone, and they had 35028 clan line during a luncheon special on a Sunday.
Right, yeah.
When they first started steam again. And clan line, as I say, come in, was parked in the station, so I've gone up and poked my head over the top of the window, and the fireman's putting a little bit of coal on, and every lump that comes through, there's a Loco inspector on there going bang, bang, bang. So I stood and watched him for a bit. So I said, "What are you doing, mate?"
Yeah.
Oh, he said, "We can't have big lumps go in there." I said, "What do you mean you can't have big lumps go in there?"
Yeah.
He said, "No, you can only put small lumps in."
Yeah.
I said, "I was at Nine Elms during the good era, when steam was going good."
Yeah.
I said, "So don't try to talk to me about firing the steam engine. I know how to fire the steam engine." I said, "And put it like this, if the lump come through there, and we could get it on the shovel, it went in there, the back corners." "Oh, no, it didn't." He said, "You don't know what you're talking about." So I walked away and left him. So walking now up the station, somebody said, "Oh, Burke, look who's on this train. He's come down the platform." So of course everybody's bailed out. Big circle's gone round him. And somebody said, "What's it like to fire one of these, Bert?" So he looked round the way, saw me, he hadn't seen me for about 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
And he gave me the wink. He said, "Ask Ted there." He said, "He'll tell you what it's like to fight." You should have seen the Loco inspector's face go,
Yeah.
They didn't know what they were talking about, the Loco inspectors. So they had learned it all off of a preserve line.
Right, yeah.
And most of them didn't have anything running anyway, you know.
No.
But, as I say, I had then like the problems with James Robertson Justice, which I told you.
Oh yeah, but you need to tell that story again for this. Bear in mind, people won't have heard this. So you've got to, and yeah, well, you told me, but people won't have heard that story. No. So you have to repeat it, I'm afraid.
Well, what happened was we were going up to work a long welded rail train from Eastleigh to Clapham Junction, where we was due to come off on the Windsor siding and run light engine into Loco. But a South East crew was going to take it over and carry it on down to Ramsgate, where they was putting the third rail down. So we've got 600 yards of third rail on a long welded rail train. So in that fact we've got like 2 trains. And the maximum speed on that was, I think, 20 mile an hour on the straight. When you come to a bend, it was down to 10 mile an hour, and a sharp bend down to about 2 mile an hour. I said, you was literally just hardly moving. So we could eventually get to 9 Elms. But before we got left Waterloo, we've gone up, found a seat in the train. So my mate Bert Mills on number 3 link says to me, "I'll go down and make the tea, Ted." So I'll take the old tea out, go down to the canteen to get some water. And when I come back up, James Robertson Justice is chatting to the crew that brought the empties in.
Yeah.
So I knew the fireman and driver, like, so, you know, other mates. So they said, "Where you going?" I said, "Eastleigh." So then James Robertson Justice saw me tea can. "Oh," he said, "we just made the tea, have you?" So I said, "Yeah." He said, "Any chance of me having a drop?" So I said, "Yeah, Gov, don't worry, we'll bring you down a drop." I said, "It might be on a little bit of the cold side. It all depends how quickly my mate has his couple of cups. He normally has 2 cups and then don't want any more." So he said, "Oh, right." So we have our couple of cups when I get back up the platform where we are seating in the train. And so I said, "James Robertson Justice is down there, wants a cup of tea." So he said, "We can take him a cup when I've had mine." So I said, "Yeah, right." So after 2 cups, he said, "Oh, you take it down to him now. It's still warm, right, you know."
Yeah.
So I get down to James Robertson Justice in a first class compartment, all on his own. So I opened the door. I said, "I brought the tea down for you, Gov."
Yeah.
"Oh, thank you very much." He said, "Come in and sit down." I said, "Well, hang on a minute." I turned the seats over. I said, just in case the ticket collector. He said he won't complain because they all know me.
Yeah.
So right, so I go in there. I still turn the seats over, and you know, because it's first class. And we got chatting, and he showed me pictures of him, the Queen, the Duke of Edinburgh, and Prince Charles and Princess Anne and Princess Margaret, all paddling for flounders.
Yeah.
I think it was in the mouth of the River Dee.
Right.
at Aberdeen.
Yeah.
And so he goes on to tell me a bit more a history of himself. He said, me and Peter Scott were the founders of the 7th Hour Wild Trust.
All right.
So I said, oh yeah, right. Oh, you know, he tells me other bits and pieces which I've forgotten now. It's such a long time ago. And as I say, he showed me some more photos and that. And so I said, well, you better have a cup of tea before it goes cold. So he takes the cup off and he said, I want to add a little drop to that. So he opened up. He opened up his briefcase.
Yeah.
And out come a long flask.
Yeah.
And it's full up with brandy. So I thought, oh well, you put it in the glass and drink it. But he put it in the cup and he drank it. And then he said, hang on a minute, don't put the lid back on yet. And he's gone glick, 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 right up the top of my tea can with brandy. So I said, oh, thanks very much, Cub. I said, my driver will enjoy that.
Yeah.
He said, don't say nothing till you get back there. So, because he said, everybody will be after you. So, right, fair enough. So we have a long chat to, I think it was Mitchell-Dever. He was getting off at Winchester and we was getting off at Eastleigh.
Yeah.
Basically, you had Shawford and then Eastleigh. So, cheery boy, and off I go. And get back to me mate at Winchester, and I said, want to drop my tea, Bert? So he said, it's cold. Cold? I said, this one ain't cold, Bert. So he puts his hand around it, it's bloody freezing. I said, you take the lid off and tell me whether it's cold. What do you mean? I said, just take the lid off. So he took the lid off, still didn't put his nose to it.
Yeah.
I said, well, now put your nose to it. And he went, you ain't bloody throwing this away. So that was it. And so we didn't throw it away, we kept it. We get down into Eastleigh Yard because you have to walk, I suppose, half a mile, something like that. We found our engine, so he said, oh, I'll go and make the tea. So I said, well, you'll need my cup, my can, won't you? So he said, no, I've got my own one.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. Of course, it's brand spanking new.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in he goes, he makes the tea. So the driver's in there said to him, why didn't you send the fireman to make the tea? Oh, my fireman's doing all right. He said he's doing the fire, getting that all ready for it. So they said, but, you know, normally you send your fireman in to do it.
Yeah.
He said, well, he's got to keep guard on the footplate in case you crazy, you know, to start to raid our engine.
Yeah.
He met James Robinson Justice. With that, they've all shot out expecting to get the brandy. Because they knew
They
what
knew
he was
about him.
like.
They knew him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, as I say, we had the can on the side, and he had his can, so we had a hot cup of tea and a cold cup of brandy. And that done us all the way up to Clapham Junction. Then when we got to Clapham Junction, we had about half a can left. So he said, I wonder who's on night shift, on the running shift. So when we got down there, we had one of the runners. He was a little bit of a pity ass bastard.
Yeah.
And as I say, he come out to us. So he said, I'll leave your engine there. He said, we've got somebody to take care of it. So we walked into the foreman's office and said, do you want a cup of tea? So he said, what do you mean a cup of tea? Well, do you want a cup of tea? So he said, it's cold. I said, well, I've got your cup there and I pour some in. I poured some in and he went, bloody hell. He said, that's brandy. So we told him the story of James Russell Justice. You know, so that went down well with the Loco. You know,
And he was a nice bloke, wasn't he, James Robinson Justice?
Oh, he was a lovely man.
Yeah. And he,
I mean, to think, well, he was a top-class actor and what else have you, but he was a real lovely man. You couldn't fault him anyway.
Didn't he say something about a young lady, young ladies, and he wasn't like their normal acting class?
Oh, yeah.
He said something like that, didn't he?
He reckoned he wasn't getting his leg over, you know, but he was getting his leg over because not very long afterwards, right across the front page of one, I forget which paper it was, but he got his name in lights.
Oh, right.
He was correspondent in a divorce case, you know.
So he's a bit of a lad then.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah.
So you went down to Salisbury quite a lot?
Oh, yeah, we just do the 9 o'clock down, we do the 5:39 down.
Yeah.
That was, as I say, a stopper.
Yeah. So it's 5:39 morning, afternoon?
The 9 o'clock was in the morning.
Yeah.
And the 5:39 was in the evening.
Right, okay.
Well, with 73-117, one particular time, we had dropped back on the train and we got a King Arthur. We used to do it the Monday to the Friday, that particular job. Because we used to work the Tavy up. That was the meat train from the West Country, up. And that used to be about 35 or 40 wagons, but it was a express freight.
Yeah.
And so you come up about 70 mile an hour,
Right.
You know. And, well, cut long story short, with that one, the 5:39 down, it was Waterloo to Woking, all stations to Salisbury.
Right.
And as I say, when I was with my regular mate, Dickie Ellis, from number 2 Link, the pilot gang, he used to say to me when we got the bathing soap, because they'd taken 8 off, we'd have 3 left, right, there's your seat, that's my seat, and pull it up as soon as you start going, and don't run by. No, righto, Dick. So, of course, I had a chance to learn to drive.
Drive, right, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So did you do much driving?
That was an experience and a half.
Did you do much driving?
With him, quite a bit, yeah. Only on light, easy stuff. He didn't let me do the driving on the heavy ones, you know.
No.
But I normally, he opened the regulator so far, and then it's Ted. Finger was up, and so that meant he wanted the regulator right up in the roof.
Yeah.
So he was up in double regulator.
Yeah.
And that really used to make those merchant navies and west countries go.
Were they the ones with the kind of like the side bits, shield, those streamlined a little bit? Yeah. I know the ones.
Yeah, well, the original before the rebuild.
Yeah.
I never done much on the main line with the ordinary merchant navies or west countries. You know, before a lot of them were rebuilt, but it wasn't until later on that I done quite a bit of running around on the unrebuilt west countries and about the Britons, but they were the same engine.
Yeah.
It was just the navy that was different.
Right,
you know.
right.
It was the merchant navies were a little bit bigger.
They called a merchant navy class, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now, did you ever go into sort of Devon or Cornwall?
Oh no, you never went that
Exmouth, you might have done.
You only went down as far as Salisbury.
Right.
That's what we done.
Yeah.
Right, or down to Bournemouth on the Weymouth line.
Yeah.
But when I moved in 1961 to Exmouth in Devon from Nine Elms.
Yeah. Did you have to live down there?
Yeah. I got myself a little flat, and eventually I left the railway down there because Dr. Beaton started the journey out.
Yeah, that was 63, wasn't it? That started that.
Well,
Or 64.
we lost a lot of work in 64. Actually, I left.
Right.
But
Nice branch to work on.
Nice
part to work on.
Yeah. The office said to me, as you're from Exmouth and you ain't got transport, we'll make sure you're back to Exeter or Exmouth Junction in time to catch your last train home.
Right.
And a couple of times I got back to Exmouth Junction just in time to wave to the train. And I've got 11 miles to walk.
You had to walk 11 miles. Wow.
And after doing a day's work...
Yeah, that's pretty... Well, I'm not surprised. That's a long way, isn't it?
One day I had to go up to Yeovil to do cover up there because they were short. And I was on only a small train, but of course it never got back to Yeovil until more or less the last train was leaving.
Yeah.
So of course the time that got down to Exmouth Junction,
my
one had already gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Exeter St David's, isn't it? There's the
no, that was the Western.
Was it? So Exeter Central?
Exmouth Junction was the southern one.
Oh right, okay.
That was the bigger of the two depots.
Oh okay.
I forget how many roads it had in the shed. I think it was somewhere about 14 or 16 roads. It was quite a big depot, you know.
Because that was the Cornish main line, wasn't it? Through Exeter.
The what was it? Royal Duchy and that used to go down through Exeter St David's.
That's right, yeah.
But then you had the branch going to Exmouth Junction.
Yeah.
And when you left Exeter St David's, you went round the corner to the left and you're going up a 1 in 34 hill.
Really? Yeah.
And you have sometimes 2 engines on the front and 3 engines on the back.
Wow.
So of course it was and then the next one do it, then the next one do it, all the way back to the last one, all to give the whistle go, and then whoom!
Yeah, off they went.
And off you went up the hill. Oh, blimey!
And that hill was up to where?
Exeter Central.
Up to Exeter Central. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. They had in. I forget exactly when it was, but they had a special down there, and the driver tried to drive as he had been taught, with no steam sand.
Oh, right.
And they'd gone out of Exeter St David's, round the corner. He had 2 engines, mind you.
Yeah.
But he had, I think it was 9 or 10 coaches on, which was over the load anyway.
Yeah.
And they've got 2/3 of the way up, and that was it.
He couldn't get any
Still
further.
didn't put the steam sand on.
The sand is things that come out the engine onto the rails.
To stop it from slipping, With the 539 down one night, where, if I recall rightly, we had been asked to do a record run from Waterloo to Woking by all the youngsters that used to come out the offices at Waterloo. They was all young kiddies, like, you know, and they come down and say, can you do a record run? We want to time you and all that.
Yeah.
So, right, we'll see what we can do. If we get a standard, you might be lucky.
Yeah.
But a King Arthur, no way. You won't be able to do it. So, this particular day, we've got a standard 73-117, a super engine.
Yeah.
So, I get in a bit early. We normally used to sign on, I think it was 4:50 at night or something like that. So for 5:39 from Waterloo. So I get in early and I go out with the hammer, make sure the sands are running to steam on. so front and back. So, right, we get up to Waterloo now, we're going in, used to come in and go over the, well, it's the Windsor side, but then it led you down back into the number 10 platform, I think. Number 10 platform, that's right. And we drop onto the train and connect up. Now we've got 11 coaches behind us. We've got a banker.
Yeah.
So...
And a banker is what? What's a banker?
A banker is to give you a little push extra out, you know.
Yeah.
And they used to be M7 drum and tank.
Yeah.
440 was the wheel range on them. And so, of course, this particular day we dropped back on the train. I've coupled up, done all the necessary, checked my steam stand is still working, stand at the station. So I said, well, I go out like a rocket then. Dick Mantelow, so I said, yeah, righto. So, whistle comes off we go. We went out so fast, the banker couldn't catch us up. They saw us a few days afterward, the following week, down the Loco at 9 Elms, and said, they went back to the day in question, and I said, what do you have on the front, a diesel? So we said, no, 73117. Christ, he said, you didn't have to go out fast. He said, we couldn't catch you up. I said, well, we don't hang around in the pilot gang, you know. We're not one of the little boys, I said, on the lower links. So, out we gone. But we done it in, I think it was 25 minutes was the record.
Really?
And we done it in 24/7 or something like that.
Wow.
So we was just under the record.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
we got the new record, like, you know. But the main drawback was when you approached Woking, you had to go from the main line onto the local, and it didn't come off until you went over a little,
Yeah.
whatever it is they had there, like, you know.